Today, I want to talk about Galapagos tortoises because, oh my goodness, these critters are absolutely amazing, amazing little beasties. So, actually, just reminded me is there? Hold on, I'm looking down here, and I can't find what I was looking for. So let me just today, if you are happen to be joining me heading off to the Galapagos, this is for you. If you're not joining me, this is still for you because the ideas which we're going to be thinking about in drawing Galapagos tortoises, we can apply these same drawing ideas to a lot of different things. Here's the dirty secret of teaching sort of nature sketching classes. There actually isn't a whole different set of techniques that you use in tortoises that you use in marine iguanas that you would use in a blue-footed booby. Um, but once you sort of understand kind of a network of ideas of visualizing things, you can look at a novel creature and be able to put that together. So today's tortoise tricks are also applicable across a smorgasbord of critters. And we're going to be looking at um, how do we kind of think about this sort of strange shape? What are a few kind of anatomical details that are helpful to do? And then we're going to be looking at value sketching. Um, we're going to be looking at how to make little sketches where noticing the darkest values, the lightest values, and the middle values, so essentially three values, we can get something that really looks like the critter. And this is very useful for field sketching. We're out there, we're kind of moving fast. What do I do about values? There are three of them. Makes it easier. So I want to I'll be sharing some of those with you. Let me go here. Let's actually start here. Like, check this out. This is that's a that's a Galapagos tortoise shell. Um, and these critters are big. They're huge. They're amazing. And they live crazy long. These tortoises, I guess in captivity, it's like 170 years, and in the wild, they're easily making 100 years. Um, and how much fun is that? So let's take a look at. Hold on, it's this used to let me push a button and advance my slide, but now it just goes and beeps at me. Um, so I am going to do this. And keynote. There we are. Ta-da! I want to send a special shout out and love to birdpixel.com. It's a place that I go to get photographs of birds when I'm doing bird illustration demonstrations. And today I went there and there were Galapagos tortoises. So you can go get on Bird Pixel. If you want to kind of practice more with some photographs of Galapagos tortoises, you can head right on over to Bird Pixel and life is good. Let's take a look at a notebook here of, hold on a second. I'll go to Keynote and, um, so this is so this was a notebook from an expedition to the Galapagos Islands. And I've got my sort of itinerary mapped onto here. This was the sort of the day by day, everything that the group did. Unfortunately, right in here, at the start of this trip, I got COVID. And so then had to retreat to the hull of the ship. Um, until I was dropped off on an island here and then stayed in isolation in a hotel through here. And but then could leave the hotel. My symptoms were gone, and I was able to travel around the island. Um, but couldn't get on an airplane for a few more days. So that gave me, I was here on Isla Santa Cruz, and I had an opportunity just to kind of run around and play, and that was really, really, really fun. So in doing that, I went up to the highlands of Santa Cruz, and there are, of all crazy things, Galapagos tortoises there. So let's uh, let's fast forward to this is Nature Journaling COVID. But it's more fun when there are tortoises involved. So let's find, right. These are Galapagos tortoises. Look at those crazy things. Oh my goodness, look at this crazy neck. See, there's a number of different species of tortoises. And the ones that live in sort of wet islands that are really humid with lots of moisture, they are large and they're really kind of dome shaped. And because in those places there's a lot of low vegetation that they can kind of just walk around and go nom 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 and eat. And the ones that live on islands that are really dry, there's no ground vegetation, so they have these arched shells. They're the same species, but there's different subspecies on different islands. So they've got these shells that go way up on the top so that they can take their neck and stick it up to get high vegetation. So it's a really cool adaptation. And then they just go tortoising around. So, Floriana Island is one of the dry ones. So they're ones where there's this sort of high shell. Isn't that cool? I mean, look at that. That's nuts. So, but that's actually not the species that is in um, on Santa Cruz Island. So these were part of a captive breeding population at the Charles Darwin Research Station. And then let's go up into the highlands. All right. So if you are in the so if you're in the Charles Darwin Research Station, so it's a lot of cement, and you're kind of looking, there's a captive tortoise. But then if you hop on a bus and you go up to the top of the island into the cloud forest, so you kind of get into this really humid zone. Um, there are tortoises just crossing the road and wandering around. They kind of they have this migration up and down the to the top of the highest elevation points down to lower over the course of the year. And in July, they were just thick as thieves of just wandering around in the highlands. So I went up there. There's a tortoise preserve, and so here are some sketches of these Galapagos tortoises. Um, and you're seeing here a little bit of just sort of me using one tone to kind of catch. Oh, this is fun. This is this little road sign warning people don't drive slowly, don't bump into tortoises. Um, and so there's just and the fences that are around there, the fences, all the farmers have this sort of clearance zone under on the bottom of their fences, so they only have wires up on the top so that the tortoises can go cruising around underneath. So um, these are sketches that I did of the tortoise, and as I spent more time with them and up in the highlands, you can spend your day just looking at them and looking at them, and the more you sketch them, the better an understanding you have of of how to sketch them. And I'll be sharing some kind of insights and tricks that I developed. Um, there is a skeleton there of a tortoise. So there is a flexible neck that attaches inside here, and the vertebrae are actually part of the shell. That's true with turtles and tortoises going all the way across there. And so the vertebrae then, the spinal column kind of comes out at the front here, and then the neck can pull into here by taking this coil and taking this part and pulling it back this direction. Little hip bone here, legs. Look at just really, really beefy legs. So as you're walking around there, these tortoises are they're just scattered all over the landscape. Like there's a boulder out there. Oh no, it's walking around. Here are um, some other sketches. You see that sort of as my time went on there, I really started to get a better sense of how to draw those. And these ones here are drawn with um, a three value system for putting the shadows in, and it's really fast, and it gives you a very accurate sense of what you're looking at. And I will be taking a look at that. And this is mating tortoise. So that was way out in this field. I heard this ooh 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 ooh, right? Or this ooh ooh ooh, 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 these sort of weird grunty noises. And there were tortoises out there. They were mating, and it was just really really fun. And the little Galapagos finches riding around on tops of these things. So again, this is a three value sketch. We'll be taking a look at how to do that, and I think you're going to have some fun with tortoises today. So we're going to get started with some gesture sketching. And what we're going to do is I am going to um, oops. I am going to I'm going to put up a picture of a tortoise. And what you do when you're gesture sketching is you're just going to make a really fast, loose, quick sketch of what you see. I don't want you kind of going and drawing slowly. Actually, let's put the document camera on. So that what you're so you want your sort of pencil to be kind of moving with this speed. Like there's a little neck that's sort of sticking out here, and there's a little tortoise leg, and there's a little tortoise leg, and it's gonna go up there, so it's fast, it's loose, it's not fussy. You want to do is for part of this, I actually part of what I really want to happen is for all of us to get our hand moving fast, right? Part of this is just we need to kind of get the blood flowing through this, and so I'm looking, I'm seeing, I'm sketching fast. So here we are. Here's tortoise number one. On your mark, get set, and here we go. All right, no, faster than that. Okay, just kind of fast. Zoom, 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 zoom. All right, don't worry about detail. We're kind of just getting basic shapes. And this will be here for, well, we're going to give this about 30 more seconds. All right, drop your shoulders, take a breath. No holding your breath when you do this. All right, let's take a look at another little rascal. Ah. This time, what I'm going to ask you to do is don't look down at your paper as you're drawing. Just look at the tortoise. Don't peek. Don't look at your paper. Imagine that your pencil knows exactly where to go, and you're drawing this in, just looking at the shapes that are in front of you. You can sometimes what people like to do is you sort of put your pencil down on one part. Sometimes people, when they do this, they don't even lift their pencil at all. Breathe, smile. What you're trying to do is just get yourself to Notice a line and make your fingers do something that is similar or related. And it doesn't have to be in the right place. It doesn't have to be exact. Breathe. Drop your shoulders. And let's try one of these. Look at how domed those are. Get yourself drawing fast. This is essentially a warm-up. Now what's going to happen is I'm going to give you 30 seconds to draw the other one. And what you're going to do is as fast as you possibly humanly can, get your pencil just moving zoomer speed, just light speed, and go. Look at this. They have this sort of this sort of grumpy face that's absolutely beautiful. Think of these things kind of, you know, I'm 120 years old today, and that's just, it's amazing. So make a list, another little gesture sketch. What do you notice? As you're doing this, start talking out loud to yourself. What do you see? What do you notice about the shape there? I'm going to kind of demonstrate this for a little bit. Like the eyes really close to the front. Wow, put my eye way too far back. Um, very flat face. Like it walked into the mirror. Straight mouth back. That eye location is so strange. My brain really wants it to be further back. I think I see the ear depression on the side of the head there. All those wrinkles on the throat. Very different texture on the top of the head versus that elephant skin coming down on the back. Long wrinkles going down and then sort of even cross ones coming across here. So two directions of cracks and wrinkles in there. Hmm. Oh, action shot. So just for a moment. So don't draw right now. Everybody put your pencil down. Just look at the screen. Look at the screen. And what I want you to do is take what we're going to do is we're just going to stare at this and we are going to look at the negative shape behind them. Here's this moment. Now, look away from the screen and we're going to do a memory sketch of this moment, right? So don't look back. Do your best, little memory sketch. And when you're all done, then you can take a look back. Really sort of see like how much can you get? from your memory. And notice how tempting it is to look back and like, oh, but but see if you can actually rely on your memory, see what it does. And then when you're all done, look back and just sort of notice what your memory got. What did your memory get right? Where did your memory not really catch it? Oh, right. Well, I love those what happened with the wrinkles on its neck when it's fully extended here. Look at that. Wow, that's really cool. How flexible. Right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at sort of thinking about drawing this dome, and a few kind of principles of domeness. And then we're going to apply that to the tortoise shell. So when I am thinking about a dome, a really useful kind of line to help me keep myself oriented would be a line right down the middle of the back of the dome. So if I come over here to page here, that's kind of what I got. There's some parts that are accurate, there's others that aren't. But let's think about dome, right? So well actually maybe we'll do sort of the dome or a ball here. I want to think of along if I'm looking at the side of this thing, if this is the front of my tortoise and this is the back, so the middle of the shell would be just that arch up there, right? Um, I'm going to swing a line down this way to be the halfway point because we're looking down at this tortoise. Tortoises are not taller than we are, so we're kind of up here looking down at our little tortoise friend. So instead of seeing that equator line here, I'm seeing it as this kind of curve towards me here. Um, and if I'm looking down, then the top edge of it is actually not the midline. I'd actually see a little bit of the top edge coming here. Maybe I'll turn this guy towards me a little bit. And let's think about sort of here's the middle of my tortoise. So if this is the front end here, hidden behind here is the back end. Right? So this little tortoise beach ball, I want to sort of think of these lines sort of, if this was a round, maybe rounded, slightly flattened on the bottom tortoise, I might get something like that. Now I can turn it into a beach ball. As this tortoise turns around, I'm going to take this ball, and again, give myself a flattened ball here. And I'm going to think of the front. Here's the equator line. The top pole of my tortoise ball is going to be up here. This time, my tortoise is pointing towards me. So a line coming down the front of it would essentially come down like that. And then I can see it starting from the back here, starting to kind of go out of my view here, and it's going to drop over the far side of the tortoise over there. And if I have little beach ball lines on it, They're going to come down to the equator and then tuck down under my ball. And ones in the back, I'm gonna take this line and I'm gonna continue it over there and drop it over the side. I'm gonna take this one, I'm gonna continue it and drop it over the side. There's my squished beach ball. Now I'm gonna take this and instead of it, I'm gonna take this tortoise, I'm gonna turn it just slightly here. So drawing little kind of beach ball blobs is a great way to sort of begin to train ourselves to think three-dimensional. Now this time my center line is going to come towards me out. It's going to cross at sort of 90 degrees. When it crosses over this line, what I don't want to do with this line here, I'll draw a little line over a little ball over here. Let's say if this was I don't want this line to kind of come out and then make a point where, whoops, I'm off the screen, where a point where it crosses. So as it crosses this equator, I'm going to come down and have it cross that at 90 degrees. And then it's going to tuck down under my ball. This is my top. And maybe I have another line cross this one over at 90 degrees, tuck it under. And these ones are going to they're going to disappear off the back side of the ball. So thinking about this as if I kind of go into tortoise drawings with this sort of squished beach ball in my head, my brain is going to be thinking three-dimensionally. And what I'm going to try and what this allows me to do is to understand some of the angles that I'm going to be seeing on this tortoise in in more useful ways. Here is my lovely tortoise friend. And look at now let's take a look at this and think about this. I want you just to envision those beach ball lines on this. So to see if you can see where the center line of that tortoise is. And Chadwick says, tortoise cuteness. Boop that snoot, right? Um, so what um what I want to do is to um yeah is to visualize this. Can you find sort of the a line down the middle of the saddle, sort of if you've got we're going to call it the front to back line. Imagine the side to side that would be kind of the crosshairs on that. Where would that go on this? How would you see that line curving around the top? How would you see that curving around the bottom? Right now, um, hold on, I'm going to back up one. Yeah, okay, good. Hmm. All right. Over here on the side, what I'm going to do is we've got most of our screen dedicated to our tortoise so that you can see the reference material. But I'm going to just make a little a little sketch of this lovely creature. And I'm thinking I'm going to back up one step because I know I will otherwise go off the screen. All right. So if I've got a little ball and the center line of my ball is I'm kind of seeing that coming across. Um, that is hitting the edge down here. So on this, there's a little bit, so rather than a ball, what I'm going to start to think about, I'm going to think of the shape as having a little flute out at the back and a little flute out at the front. And that flute out the front, depending on the subspecies, will have different degrees of an arch tucked into the front of the front flute. So on this one, I've got all my tortoiseness kind of sticking out here, but right now I'm just focusing on that shell. Let's look at the shape of that entrance comes down, little step in there. And then it's hard to see like exactly what is happening under here. It actually is crossing across so that the shell goes underneath in this part here. So there's an upper part and there's a lower part. Then we see over in here this little place where the back leg is going to come out, and that has its own little flute. And now I'm going to think of the midline here. It is really easy to put the midline in like this and have it kind of come down here to slice these two parts into equal halves. But if it's turned away from me, I'm going to see more of this half than this half. So the midline on this is actually coming down in here. And so then there are plates on this, and let's think about what they're doing. So there's sort of this lower zone of plates, and then there is a middle zone of plates, and there's an upper zone of plates. So there's a zone of plates that goes right along the top. Actually, this might be a good place to pull out one of my sketches. Do, do, do. Yeah, that shows it pretty well. So that there are, um, there's a zone of plates that goes across the top. There's a lower one, and then there's this middle one. So I am going to think of here is um, a top zone. So I'm going to have one big plate in here. I have another big plate in here. I have another big plate over here. On the top, I have a plate that sits in here. I'll zoom down a little bit. I have another big plate that is going to sit in here. And then in on the sides here, one, two, little plate in here. Got another little plate in here. Now, on these plates, you will see also a bunch of them have, I'm going to actually put a little bit of angles on the top of some of these. Some of these little plates have a little bump in the middle of them. Not perfectly round. In some places, it's easy to see a plate boundary. For instance, in here on this and in here on this. Exactly what is happening with the plate boundary in here is more difficult to see. Here it's a little bit more difficult to see. Here maybe I'm kind of picking up on that. So you don't have to draw in every plate. And if you can't sort of see what the plate boundary is doing in some place, you can just put in a suggestion of these plates and you'll get a sense of kind of the rounding over the top of this. Let's take a look at a different tortoise. Right? Find the center line of its body. So I've got a line of plates that go over the top. You see on the outer edge, then there's a middle row, and then there's a line of plates that go around the outer edge. So on this little tortoise, I've got an arch.
Could you scooch the page a little bit?
Oh, thank you. I have an arch, and then it's coming down. I've got sort of the bottom of it. Where's the center line? The center line is coming roughly in here, and then that center line is disappearing. The middle of it is somewhere in here. I have a zone on the bottom that will be my bottom scales. I'm going to put a little floop out towards the back. Up in the front. And then I have, with this center line here, there are scales that come over the top. And one of them is in here. It really helps me instead of, as I'm kind of drawing these lines, whenever I cross over one of these major chump lines like that, that you're going to go back towards being kind of more at sort of not kind of hitting that line square so that you don't make a little point across it. So this middle, it's going to help you kind of to remember that this plate here is going to be on that middle line. That means that the one behind here gets less, the one here. And then I've got all my other little plates kind of come around here. So the plates, as they kind of get in here, they get smaller. Little plates coming across there. Some of these have little bumps on them. So as I'm going around, I'm not just putting random bumps there, but I'm sort of seeing where is there a kind of bump on a plate that I can see. And then I'm going to suggest some of these plate boundaries. Not here, I can see pretty well. So if you can't see all of those plate boundaries, like this one in here, hard to see. Maybe I just leave it out. Out in here, hard to see those plate boundaries. I know that they're there, and so it's really easy to kind of turn this into a grid. But if I don't see it, I'm not going to draw it. Let's look at a different little beastie. Oh, look at you. Look at you. Oh, So much fun. Okay, Anne, you've got to boop this one too. Um, Boop. Thanks, Bill. Um, so we are kind of coming up. We have this lovely dome.
Oh, sorry, Jack.
Oh, I'm all off, aren't I? So I've got a big dome. The middle line of it is here. And then there'll be a little zone through here where my plates go. More plates. So those major kind of plate boundaries. I put new batteries. Now I'm going to give myself um, a suggestion of a few of these plates. I like this. I like that. This one's harder to see. Down here on this front edge, this is cool. And there seem to be, as I've got plates in the front here, on this edge, each one of those is making a change in the contour of what I'm seeing here. So there's then and then it's all dark in there. Hmm. So I've got a general shape, my dome. I have um, thinking about kind of orientation lines to get my plates going in the right directions. And then I'm not going to draw in all of those plate boundaries and all those little lines. Because if I have a hard time seeing it, I can leave it out. Otherwise, the shell turns into kind of this grid, this grid pattern. Oh yeah, somebody pointed out the little yellow bird here. And if you take a close look, there's a slight orange tint on its forehead. Slight orange tint in there. This is the yellow warbler, like the yellow warbler that we have in the United States. The yellow warbler that is out there on the Galapagos Island has orange on its forehead. And so they've got a special little kind of orange something something. Let's see if I have any uh, orange, yellow warbler sketch here. Oh yeah, there's one. This this is a Galapagos styled yellow warbler with this crazy orange crown. That's nuts. If if you just took that away, that would be sort of just a standard United States yellow warbler. But this little thing, that's really weird. I don't like the shape of that bill, but that's okay. Let's back here. All right. Let's play a little bit with the head. Let's get ahead of this. All right. This noble, this wise, this beautiful, beautiful, boopable snoot. But also look at how boxy it is. It is really hard to I have two big problems with this. One is my brain wants to give it more of a pointy face, and my brain is constantly putting the eye in the wrong place. Like look at how close this if I I love Susan Beckhart's comment here. I'm a little worried if I boot these, I'm gonna lose a. Oops, I just lost that comment. A little worried if I boot the snoots, I'm going to lose a finger, and then worth it. So, um, take a look at some of these sketches here because um, my brain again doesn't want the my brain wants the eye to be in a totally different location. So here, starting to kind of mess with this face, this is still too close to the front. Same thing right here. Um, I'm out there and these are cooperating right in front of me. Like, look at how far back my brain wants to put that eye.
Oh, Jack, could you zoom out just a little, please?
Sure. All right. So I want to, my brain wants to get the eye comfortably further back. Um, and so the next time I'm in the Galapagos, that will be a challenge for me. Can I work on my eye placement? Um, look at this guy way back there. Interesting. Um, but here we have this lovely face, and I am going to first just give myself a little bit of yeah. Uh, Bill Ward says really, really different eye placement than we're looking at with our birds. This is it messes with my brain. All right, so I've got this very boxy face. Um, on this, I'm looking on the top of the head here, and there is the I can think of the head as there's this frontal part that has the mouth and the eye, and then there's this sort of this big back part here. Right, so there's this big back part here, and the eye is going to sit in front of that. And have very heavy lids. My little beak comes down, make that chin a little bit smaller. And then if you look back here on the head, maybe one eye distant, an eye and a half, maybe right in here, there's a little dark spot, some larger scales above it. That's its ear. So that's its ear location right there on the side of its head. So I have cracks going all around the head and scales going over the head. I can just do a few little lines to kind of give a suggestion that there are little scales here. If I get into like where are they all going, I kind of lose my mind. But a few places I can, and sometimes when I'm drawing kind of a hint of little scales, I'll do something like this. In my head, I'm imagining a bunch of scales. Let's say they're all placed like that. I do this also on hummingbird throats in places or bird feathers. If I know that there's a bunch of these little scales and things, what I will actually draw in is just sort of a few places where these are meeting. And so those, rather than drawing all those circles, I would just put in a few little marks. They could be some of the shadows in some of the more prominent ones, and then just leave the rest to suggestion. So my brain is visualizing all these sort of things, and I might just sort of say like, that
Oh,
there's,
Jack, could you scooch it a little,
oh,
please? Thank you.
yeah, so I might just be drawing in something like, that. And that can do a lot just to suggest that there's little sort of a scaly pattern in there. On these cracks on the head here, there seem to be a couple of really kind of major directions of those. I have some cracks that are kind of going down, and then I've got other ones that are coming across. You'll see the same sort of thing going on with elephant skin. Um, So one way of handling this is just you don't have to draw in all the cracks. You can put in just a few that sort of suggest it, but expect there to be a few different directions of cracks. Let's take a look at a different head. Ooh, that's cool. Now we've got more of a side view here. That is such a neat face. On this one, it appears that we can sort of see that there's a little bit of where the eyes are. There's things are raised above it. Big scale over the ear there. Let's just block this in together. So I've got an overall head that's maybe this big, and I am going to make it really blunt in the front. And this head is turned slightly towards me. So if this were the head, you're not looking at a straight profile. You're looking so that you can see slightly on the top, and you see this front surface where the nostril is slightly. So in the middle here, you see this double bump in the middle. That is each side. Quiet, oh telephone. Thought I silenced you, but I didn't. All right. So we've got this little double bump thing going on in here, right? That's all the front of this, which means that we're also seeing on the top here. Imagine that there's an eye here and an eye here, right? Where I'm putting my fingers across. Notice that where the two eyes are is parallel with this edge, and that's parallel with this edge down here. So this means that I'm going to start here on this sort of, I like to sort of think of something like this as planes. I actually maybe give myself a few more things. That mouth line is going to be somewhere in here. That little sort of chin line is going to be somewhere in there. Um, but I want to think of the front of this face as a plane. as a surface. So there is the front plane of the face. And maybe I even think of it giving it a center line, because that means that on one side of it is going to be this little tooth-like structure, and on the other side we see the other one. I am going to see one nostril here. If it was flat, I would see the other one. And these are at an angle like this. That means I'm going to put these eyes, feel this angle, I'm going to feel that angle. I'm going to put a little line here on the top of the head. And maybe bring that down a little bit forward, because here is coming up to this is this sort of top line. And then the other eye is going to be, I followed this line down here. My other eye is going to be down in here. So here's this top of this with the eye tucked into it. So if I have the front of my face is here, the top of my nostrils is here, my eye bumps are going to be sort of following that same angle. Where's my little ear? Ear, somewhere there. Maybe more in here. Oh, I still have my eye too far back. That's going to be a really big challenge for me. I really want to put Galapagos tortoise eyes further back. Um, this is what I want. So let's spend a little bit of time just sort of playing with this face. And what I'm going to do is kind of use sort of a cubist construction approach to how I play with this. And so um, here is sort of a ball for my head. And it looks like this guy is looking down in a direction like this. So that's my center line of my head. Um, that center line gets to, I'm gonna put a line across here, this surface where the nostrils are. And I'm gonna put a little box there in front. And that's where at the bottom of that, those two little spots are up in here. That's where I'm going to have my little nostrils. Now, I'm going to think of this head as an arrow pointing to that that surface. And you so I'm going to draw a little thing on this side here. Um, so on this little arrow, let me make this symmetrical. I've got this arrow. If I take this arrow, this the animal is looking down, so we're going to look down. It's looking a little bit to the right, right? And the and you'll notice that as it looks to the right, um, some interesting things happen. This side of the arrow here appears shorter, right? This side of the arrow appears longer. This angle here appears more obtuse, wider. This one here appears more acute, narrower. All I've done is just taken a symmetrical arrow, tilted it off to the side, and turned it away from us a little bit. And the foreshortening has made all those changes in it. So I have a long side and a short side. I have a big angle and a smaller angle from what was a symmetrical arrow. The same thing is going on in the head of my little friend here. I now have a short side and I have a long side, right? And off of this, I have a bigger angle and a smaller angle. So knowing that foreshortened arrows do this strange things really helps me be able to kind of catch something like this in my sketch. Otherwise, what we do is we make this angle here the same as this angle, this size the same as this size. And we then are confused, like, why doesn't this sort of seem to be working? It's because part of that is foreshortened, turned away from me. So then I've got my big back of my head here. I have this cheek that is sticking out. I'm going to give myself a little bit of the bottom part of my chin here. So there's a little bit of chin sticking out. Most of the face on this side is turned away from me. But then the face on this side, it is going to be much bigger. And I've got this lovely, I'm going to put a little triangle in here. My eye is then sitting up in this space here. And the eye on the other side, I'm not going to draw. Kind of fun. The new Godzilla, in the new Godzilla movies, they have this very blunt face, like the Galapagos tortoise, on their on the Godzilla monster. So whenever I look at these, really, I kind of get this Godzilla looking back at me. And we're going to just do one more of these little heads. I'm going to put in a ball. My friend is going to look this way. I'm going to put a little line on the top of its head. And then I'm going to hang a shingle down from that. For that front plane of the face. Here's my short side. Here's my long side of my triangle. My eye is tucking down in there. My mouth coming back to roughly the back side of the eye. A little bit of an underbite. Let's give it nostrils. So they'll be in a line somewhere in there. Interesting, they're right sort of on the same level as that, as the eye. Oh. So I want to jump forward to a couple of other features on these critters and then get into this sort of looking at um, the uh, to look at these sort of tone drawings. Right. So on my legs here, the part which, when it rests, goes down on the ground, has these giant pangolin style scales all over the front part of its legs. And then as you kind of go back on them, you don't see that. But look at those, just those really, really cool patterns. And it gets sort of in the small part, there seems to be a little bit more order to it. And then you get into those big parts in the front and you throw in a bunch of chaos. When I was sketching these things, um, sometimes what I would do is I would leave them out, right? At the start, there's so much going on. I'm just overwhelmed by tortoise shapeness. And I am leaving out those little scale patterns. That's okay. Here's the sort of the first kind of indication of it. I actually think little hint here that there may be some big scaly things going on. There may be some big scaly things going
Oh,
on.
sorry. Yeah. Oh, there you go.
But as we're getting in here, notice that I don't have to draw in every little scale, 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 scale. I can just suggest that there's some scale texture in here. Or on my friend here, the same. This kind of starts to give you the sense of there's some bigger scales down here, some smaller scales up in here. Then here we're kind of getting a little bit more of that. So what I'm doing is from the distance that I'm looking at this critter, I can pick out a few of these scales, and so I'm putting those in. So if I've got a um, let's see, do I have so let's take a look at, say, this leg that is in front in front of its body. So essentially what I've got is a cylinder. So I'm going to draw a cylinder here. And when I'm thinking about these sorts of things, I want to kind of keep the roundness of this cylinder in my mind. Something that can help you do that is to give yourself just, see this line here, this curve? I'm going to lightly just draw in that same curve like that. Just to say, remember, things are going to wrap. Things are going to wrap. And then I'm looking at these scales, and there seems to be some kind of order to them. So if I can see that some things are sort of in rows, I can give myself a few lines to suggest those rows. And now that wrap, right, I'm going to just give myself a few little lines this way. And notice that I'm wrapping these ones that are kind of going in the same direction as these lines. I'm wrapping them around the limb. Those are just sort of light guidelines. These ones here, I've really worked to wrap them around. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in some of the shadows of these scales. So in here is here is the big shadow. So think of yourself as drawing the shadow of the scale, not the scale. Draw in the scale's shadow. And you can get something that feels like you're going from small scales into big ones. I'm putting in again. I'm not I'm not drawing in Scale, scale, scale. Whoops. I am putting in some of the shadows of the scales, and then it feels like um, it's going to feel a lot more like what you are seeing. So think of this. So notice that I'm kind of trying to get myself to notice those shadows, and I'm punching in those shadows. There we are, the shadows of the scales. That's a really, really useful trick. And it's not just tortoise legs. In any sort of complex subject like this, where it's really easy for a drawing to turn into kind of this crazy grid on there, when really what is stands out the most are those shadows. And if I could see the far edge over here, in this case, it's hidden in the grass, but if I could see this far edge, another thing that would help you with this is if you could see this edge here. And then our brain goes like, oh yeah, these are both big scales. Because we see those bumps. So if there's an edge of something that has those little bumps, those little bumps do a lot for everybody to see like, oh, that edge helps me see that these are bumps and those are shadows of little bumps on top of that thing. Right. Now, the final thing I want to do today is to take a look at this idea of value sketching. Value sketching is a very fast, simple way of handling all this complexity when you're out there, you're looking at these objects. Our brains can't take in too much information. What information do I choose to put down on my paper? I find that if I can get the forms of the shadows on objects, then the objects will look dimensional. They'll look like they have surface and planes. As you look around, the shadows on objects are made by the changes in the planes of the surface. So where there's a change in the plane on a surface, you often get a change in the shadows that are in that area. This means that if you are just dropping in the shadows on the objects that you see, they will become much more dimensional. The danger is that a lot of us are trained to do shadow drawing this way. What we do is we have learned that okay, here's a ball, right? And the highlight will be here. There will be a brighter area here. There will be a core shadow here, and there'll be some reflected light here. So I'm then on autopilot. I am putting in a darker shadow in here. And then that's going to fade as we get into this area, right? And then maybe I have a little bit lighter out here into this reflected light. Punch that core shadow a little bit more. So you see what I'm doing is I'm kind of just on autopilot as I am putting in a generic shadow on a subject. I've learned if this is a cylinder, the light's coming from this area. There'll be this bright area here. It will progressively get darker until I get to that little bit of reflected light there. And so that's the way I should do a shadow on a cylinder. And so what we tend to do then is we have a tortoise and we start to put our autopilot shadow across it. No. Instead, look at the real object. Shadows have shapes that correspond to these little subtle changes in where, like something that's curved won't just be a bowling ball. There'll be one place where the curve will That's my hands are way too big there. Boom, 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 boom. So there'll be one place where the curve will bend a little bit more. So there'll be kind of an inflection point in that curve. It won't just be like a bowling ball. And that means that there'll be places where there is more shadow all of a sudden than in other places. So if I'm looking for those and mapping them across my subject, good things will happen. So jumping back to these tortoises, tortugas. Hey, bonus points if you can write into the chat how the Galapagos Islands got their name. Um, so look at this one here. So here's this little thing. All I did, I had one pen. This was with a brush pen. So I had a gray brush pen of one color that I pulled out, and I looked where is the shadow on it and where isn't it. And it wasn't along that little part in here. It was along in there, and then this part of the neck, that part of the neck went dunk, 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 and all of a sudden that thing has dimensions, right? On this thing here, the leg that was under the shell was in shadow. This one was out in the sun. There's a little thing, a bit of it across. And where this inflection point was in the shell, this was mostly a shell in sunlight, but part of it wasn't. So just drop that in and putting on these ones here, I'm using a three value technique. What I'm doing is I have two different um, brush pens. All right, so these are, why am I blanking on the name? Help me out, Vea. What is the name of these brush pens? Brush pens, do you
Are
know?
you talking about Tombos?
Tombos, thank you. Yes. So these are Tombow brush pens. I had a light gray one and a darker one. And what I did is I just said, what is the edge of the highlight? And I traced the edge of the highlight and filled everything that wasn't that highlight in. And then I said, what is the shape of just the darkest points? And I put those in. Same thing here. So this is two things. What is the shape of the highlight? And I get that by putting in um, my kind of medium gray pen. So same thing here. It's a two-step thing. What I'm doing is I'm first saying where is the light, and then I'm going to say, now where is my darkest dark? And then what happens is things that go from being a line drawing to zip, zap, zoop. You've got so much for just a little bit of effort. This thing has so much more dimension to it. Look at this little guy. Look at this little tortuga, right? This guy versus this guy. And what this is, it's just a two-step technique. What's my mid-tone? And I'm not just generically putting that in and shading it up and then letting the top part be light. I'm looking for what is the edge. If I had to draw a line that was the edge of that of that shadow, I'm going to put it here, right? Where I'm going to put it. And then I squint at it and I say, and where are my darkest darks? And ka-junk, ka-junk, I drop those in and the thing has dimension. I squinted at this thing, its head that was down grazing. It's just a little value darker. Put that in, and the little guy has dimension. So on this one, this is my standard technique. On this one, I did in this area kind of come in and actually give myself not just three tones, the paper, the mid-tone, and the dark. This one actually has a fourth tone that is going on in here, but it's basically the same thing. And all I'm doing there is I'm just taking that gel pen, not that gel pen, my Tombow brush pen, and I'm pushing it a little bit further. So let's take a look at how we can do that. You don't need so that was done with ballpoint pen and a brush pen. Now what I'm going to do is just the same thing, and I'm just going to use a standard pencil. All right. So what I want you to do is to squint your eyes and look at it. And I want you to turn this into three zones. What is the brightest? What is the mid-tone? And what is the darkest? That's your challenge. The brightest, the mid-tone, and the darkest. If you squint at it, it will help a lot. Now, I'm going to draw my little buddy. Got a sneeze that is hiding somewhere up in my nose. So my little buddy, this is a Tuscan red, which is it's a fun color that comes with Prismacolor. I think it's a really pretty sort of dull red. I've got a little shell. And I can see the shell side comes up. This thing is turning towards me. So the top part of its shell is here. And I can see this other side coming down here. So I can see the far side of the shell. I haven't put that little buddy into it yet. Now I'm going to stick some tortoise into there. Um, Tortoise has a little neck that is coming up and a head.
Oh, Jack, would it be possible
Ah.
to?
Thank you. Thank you, Evan. You know, if you weren't here, half of my workshops would be off screen.
I don't know. I think you're really good at catching yourself.
Sometimes, except when I'm not, right? So we then have a leg that is coming out here. So I'm just going to look at this negative shape here. So now my brain is looking at negative shape, kind of neck coming down. We're coming down here. And that gives me that. And then let's take a look at the negative shape on the underside. We're roughly kind of thick like this. And then and now I'm realizing that I need to change the shape of my shell. So I will. So I'm going to come along here. Now the new bottom of my shell is here. It was up there. Sometimes when I'm focusing on this, I miss this. When you notice in this, I just sort of started drawing from the shell and then it's gonna, sort of was cruising around. I didn't have a kind of a light pencil sketch that got the whole thing in. And so this part of my drawing stopped communicating with this part of my drawing. Because when I was focused on those details over here, I wasn't seeing the big picture over there. And but that's okay. Now, a new shell that's going to come. And maybe this shell wants to come down to here and then flare out. And my tortoise is a little bit squished this way. Again, you notice on this one, well, normally when I'm doing a sketch, I start with that just that light pencil sketch that kind of gets in the basic shape. I didn't do that here, and so now I'm having to find like now that's like too tall, it's too squished this way. You can get this part was working for me, but is that working with this part? That's one of the wonderful things about starting with a sketch that gives me the overall shape. But I didn't do that here. And now I paid the price, but that's, uh, I'm still gonna sleep well tonight. It's gonna be all right. Um, I'm gonna put a few little details on this. So if this were my center line here, um, there is I can get a hint of some of the thing that's nice about these lines on the shell is that they give me a sense of the contour of it. I can make a little line like this, and it does a lot to show that this is curving. On this little leg that is coming in here, I'm going to put a hint of some scales here on this edge. And then I'm going to put in some shadows. Detail in there. Here is there's a plant that is decided to grow right up in here. Blocking part of my view.
Might need to scooch a little. There we go.
Over here, I've got a scale and another scale. This lovely neck. I can't believe that in just a few days, I'll be looking at one of these. That also just reminds me of the importance of as we go out and we're exploring things, we want to let our just sort of our awe and our reverence of these amazing creatures motivate us to become stewards to protect them. I always think that like somebody else has got to really be minding the store. Somebody's really going to be taking care of that. No, but it's actually on us. It's on all of us. And we can use
Oh,
uh,
could this turtle?
thank
Thank you.
um,
But you're absolutely right. It's on us to take care of them. And it's on us to make sure that our kids and our grandkids can inherit a world with them in it.
that's absolutely right, Ava. Um, if you're an adult and you're on this, it's not up to the next generation. No, this is on us. This is our time to step forward together so that when we hand off the football, we're leaving it in good shape. I'm gonna on a few places on this shell here, I'm gonna emphasize some of these cracks. I'm not gonna go around and do the whole thing because I want to just sort of some, especially where some of these cracks are, like in here, I can emphasize that. And that's gonna be good to sort of show those forms. Maybe I want to just a little hint of a. All right, so there's a line drawing. I'm going to back up. There's a line drawing of my Tortuga friend. I'm going to move this leg back. All right. So I could leave it as a little line drawing, but let's just see how much you get for kind of coming in there. You need a bigger head, don't you? How much you get for just this three value system. What I'm going to do is here are my three values. I am going to have the white of my paper. I am going to have as dark as my Tuscan red will go. And then I'm going to have midtone. And the trick is each of these is a shape, especially this, this zone between the highlight, the white paper, and this tone. I want to look at that as an edge. So I'm going to squint back at this and I'm going to say to myself, all right, so as I squint at it, what do I see? I see I'm going to make this part of your head midtone, right? And I'm going to bring that down under your throat to here. And then down into here. This is all midtone. And this leg. And your tummy. It's all shadowy in here. All right, now, but as we get into here, where this is where it's going to get interesting. There's a spike that comes up of shadow in here. There's a little bit of shadow in here. There's a spike of shadow in here. I'm going to see a little bit in here. All right. And I'm going to leave back part of this leg to catch some sunlight on this back leg here. There is a light edge on it. So that is my middle zone. And now on top of that, I'm going to look, where do I have my dark? Where do I want to punch this in? All right, I'm going to start where it's easy. Right over here. This part I've been looking forward to. I'm going to hit that in. What about right up here under the neck? Yep. And then it's going to kind of come down here. And I'm just squinting at my screen, and that's going to come in here. And then that's going to go in here too. Here, here. All right. So there's a bunch of stuff that I'm going to put in here in its chest. And on this, I squint at the leg, and I'm going to get a little zone in here. And then on the back of the leg here, and what is the top edge going to be? It's going to come in here. So I've got stuff dark that comes down in here. I have dark all across the bottom here. I have dark along this part. And I have some dark on that back leg. Maybe put in a little bit of dark in here. And so now I've got my little tortoise friend cruising along. If I want to, I can ground it by, I'm going to give it a cast shadow on the ground here. So the grass that is back down in here. And there is 3 values on a tortoise. And actually, I'm going to need to make this, punch that in darker. There we go. There you go. So there's 3 values on my little friend the tortoise. And I find that this approach to um,
Could you scooch tortoise over a little?
ah, so this approach to adding color in the field is so much easier. We'll go back again to the things that aren't done from photographs. So these little sketches here, this is live from the field. Now take a look at these marine iguanas. Oops. I'll go to here. So here are some marine iguanas with just, these were in morning light. Once I emerged from my COVID stupor. And I'm just putting in where they are in the light and when they're in the dark. 2 values, shadow and light. And it carves those iguanas. Um, Going back to these things. This is just coming with the Tombow pen, going do 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 do, and then hitting in where I see a few darks. And that, let's get to the focus. Go. Um, it gives you those the feeling of that dimension much more easily. So those are some tricks that you can use, not just when you're drawing a Galapagos tortoise, should you need to, but when we're looking at any phenomenon, we can think about where is its darkest part. I'm going to punch that in. Where is that? Where is the boundary between? See, if you put in that middle tone as an actual shape, and you're looking at like, if I had to decide where the boundary of those two was, I would put it here. You put that in as a shape, and that just can then go all the way into the darkest part. You're just looking at the boundary with the light. And then you're saying, I'm going to pull out my darkest dark, and I'm going to say, what is the boundary of that with the midtone? And I can punch that in. That means that your darkest dark is an intentional shape. Your midtone is an intentional shape. And because that is also that brightest part is an intentional shape. And that carves whatever it is that you're drawing. Other big ideas here, we were looking at some of those scales we just drew in the shadows. A few other ideas. It's really useful to kind of get that center line on the tortoise. We also had this strange idea of if I take an arrow and and I tilt it and then turn it, I get a side that is I get a side that will be a shorter side, and I'll have different angles on either side of that center line of the arrow. That's really counterintuitive. The same thing happens when we're drawing the tip of the leaf, and it's at a three-quarter view angle pointing down or up, or a petal of a flower. The same phenomenon comes in, and it's really counterintuitive. Um, but once you kind of, if you can kind of get in your head that that is something that the world does, and so when I'm getting to that, like you're like, oh, you've got a long side and a short side, you've got a more obtuse angle and a more acute angle. Okay, what you did with your crazy foreshortening, bless your little heart, and it helps us be able to then to get that on our paper. Um, these are um, and as we're drawing together, the other, I think, kind of a cool take home from this is you saw me do a drawing where I didn't block in my basic shape first. And then the body was the wrong width. And I kind of, at the end of the day, I have a sketch of this tortoise, and and my friend is too short because I didn't do that. And what that does is it just, whenever I kind of make a goof like that in my drawings, what it does is it motivates me just to kind of look again and go like, next time I want to remember to block that in, right? And so if I do something and it doesn't end up the way I had hoped or expected in my sketch, I don't beat myself up. I just use that as every drawing is practice for the next one. They're not working on a masterpiece here. Every drawing is in service of the next drawing and the next observation. And so that just motivates me to do the next one and the next one and the next one. And when you're out in nature doing this, if it looks, if you get a pretty picture, that's great. If not, that's great because either way, it helped you pay attention to and notice something wonderful about the tortoise. And for me, that's why I'm doing it. And every once in a while, you get a drawing and it looks like the tortoise, and you go, and you get a little dopamine from that. That's great. In order to get those, the secret is just to make a lot of tortoises. And eventually, there you go. Did anybody get the answer to the question of why Galapagos is called the Galapagos? Check the chat.
Sadly, I lost my chat, but I remember that Troy said a pretty hilarious pun, and
Oh,
I'm forgetting somebody did get the answer. I think it was Susie Wood maybe, um, who said that
oh
the
yeah.
name. There you go. Yeah.
So, and what was Troy?
Oh, I
Oh,
lost it.
okay. Let's see. South America was dancing across the Atlantic, and a little piece hopscotched up and galloped out into the Pacific. Oh, very nice. I like the galloping. Um, and that's right. Susie said it's the word for tortoise, Spanish. There you go. It's the Tortoise Islands. So, um, this is it's a beautiful planet. And I really want to encourage people to get out and celebrate it in the most sustainable ways that we can. And as we do that, as we kind of encounter these ancient and amazing aspects of this world, um, let's let that motivate us to be the stewards who can pass off to the next generation a healthy environment, um, and with abundant biodiversity. And that's not just for our human pleasure. They've got an intrinsic right to be there too. And I hope you had fun today. So if anybody would like to, thoughts, comments, or ideas, questions, I'd love to hand the mic over to y'all. And I see Ann Chadwick from Point Blue Conservation Science. Hello, Ann. Oh, you are currently muted.
We go.
There we go.
Okay, there we go. What a great session, Jack. Thank you. And I hope you guys have so much fun and that you don't get sick.
Yeah, no COVID this time.
Wear a
I've got
mask.
my little mask for the plane.
Yeah, good, good. Stay healthy. And let me just show you. Well, the first page was pretty, pretty rough, but
Ah,
fun,
yes,
fun,
yes,
fun.
yes.
And yeah, I like these guys going head to head,
Yes,
mouth
yes.
to mouth. And and it got better.
Ah, yes. Oh, and look at that angle on the Y face one, on the arrow face one, that three-quarter view with oh, that this is great observation.
And does this not look like ET? I'm sorry, but this little guy has the
Ah,
phone home.
yes. Phone
Yeah.
home.
But yes, and I
Oh,
do have the array of Tombow pens that are really fun to play with.
so
So,
folks, take a look. Yeah, hold those up again. So
yeah.
Anne's not using 100 pens here. Anne's got a few, just a small little handful of Tombos.
Actually,
And-
two of them. Yeah, I just have four, really. There
yeah.
we go.
And so there's one that gives her black, one's a gray, one is a medium and a light gray. And then for that background blue, you dropped in another Tombow. These are great little pens for adding fast color to nature journaling. And look at that tortoise leg, that little tortoise leg study. Doesn't that look
Yeah,
scaly?
little corn on the cob there. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Oh, that
very
looks
fun.
so scaly.
And then just bringing that in here, just a hint. They were
Yeah.
almost like Bill Berry marks, right? They're just
Yep. That's
yeah.
right.
But I have a question for you, and that is in your Galapagos sketches, I believe you used tone paper, a gray tone. And are you going to take gray tone this time or other tones? And then
Yes.
also, hypothetically, if somebody were going to travel to, say, Turkey and Greece, would you recommend a brown, a tan or a gray or just white or a little bit of each? What do you think about tone paper?
Tone paper is making me really happy
Yeah.
right now. So in the little journal that I made, there is a section of brown toned paper in there. And working on brown toned paper or gray toned paper is so much crazy fun. These are Strathmore sketchbooks, toned paper sketchbooks, and they make them in brown and they make them in gray. Um, and I think that for the sort of the warmth of the light in Italy and Greece, I would go for a brown paper journal, because then you just sort of it is this is more important than this being gray. It's kind of a cool gray, and it's a warm brown, right? So the I'll grab a toned paper sketchbook from Italy and Greece.
And what are you taking to the Galapagos?
I'm going to take a gray toned paper. Um,
Are those still out on your desk?
um,
Somebody might have looked through them yesterday and left them out on your desk.
I thought I put everybody back.
Oh,
Um, let me see here.
I was snooping.
Oh, yeah, right. Here it is, sitting
See?
on my desk.
I knew
No,
it.
wait, wait, no,
I
wait,
knew
no,
it.
no, that's not the Italy Greece one.
Oh,
Okay, hold on, one moment. One moment. Just one moment. All right.
I have.
All right, here we go. I just, for some
Okay.
reason, I should have put Italy Greece on the spine.
I took
Ah!
some. I snapped a couple of shots there.
Um, so this is a toned paper, gray toned paper,
Yeah.
or brown toned paper sketchbook. Um, and like these puffins from the Wild Wonder trip to Maine, I think that this would have been better on gray toned paper.
Hmm.
Because it sort of have sort of a coolness to that. I'd love to see that gray behind these these sketches. But then hopping over to Greece, you see the sort of that warm brown is kind of coming through. You can kind of feel a little bit of the heat
Do
of
you have to use gouache to get that beautiful blue?
yes, yeah, that is gouache uh,
Yeah.
on top of there. And there is a particular gouache. Let me go to the shelf here. Colored pencils, gouache.
I know. Susan
Um,
says, Anne, you would need, I'll just read this. Wait, where to go? You would need more than one afternoon to snoop through all of Jack's sketchbooks and bookshelves. How did you choose? Well, I chose because I might be going to Turkey and Greece at the end of the summer if it's safe. Um, and so I asked specifically to see these, and it was just a wonderful journey through Jack's brain on paper. Yes.
this little one um, is you grab yourself a tube of this gouache
Okay.
before you go,
Oh my
and
gosh.
it
Okay.
is
G860.
Myocystis blue. Avea, is Myocystis a
Yep.
borage?
It's a forget me not. Yep. It
That
is
sounds
indeed.
like a disease.
I have such a
So yeah, this is the Myocystis blue, and it is such a great color for skies in on toned paper.
Okay.
Um, if you want it to be a little bit darker, um, you can easily add a little bit of dark watercolor into it.
Hmm.
But it it just plays so well with with others. Um, yeah, so here is that's all it up there. Then this is just sort of watercolor, maybe with a little bit of that myocystis blue in it. And there.
I love that page. So that's different times of day, right, Jack?
Yep, yep.
Yeah. What a great idea.
There's that same blue. Um, And then let's see here. This is in Italy, just throwing it up next to a building or between sort of down an alley. Same
Yeah.
idea. But that blue will be your friend. With tone paper, you're gonna have a
You didn't get that tower very straight there, Jack.
I've
Looks
got to
like
get
it's leaning.
it. Yeah. My big discovery that I thought was really fun was going up that tower. You can follow little steps up, and as from all the people who are walking on the steps, um, there is a little trough that is worn in the steps, in the middle of the steps. And if it were a straight building, it would be in the middle of the steps all the way up. But if the building is leaning this way, then when you are on this side, you're actually all the way over into kind of the corner here. And so the little wear pattern is over there. And when you are on this side of the building, right,
Yeah.
you are leaning against the same side, the downhill side. But it is now, this was on the outside, and now it's on the inside. And so as you go up, this little wear pattern snakes back and forth um, between the outside and the inside of the spiral staircase that goes around the outside edge of this. And so you can then count how many times it goes right to left, and um, and it did so 3 times, which means that there are 3 spirals, complete spirals, to get to the top. So even though there weren't windows all the way up, you could figure out that you spiraled around 3 times by looking at the wear pattern in the floor. That was my big discovery.
That's geeking out for sure.
That's geeking out. I don't know how many people are going like, oh my gosh, look what's going on the floor here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Fun.
fun. I hope you have a safe trip, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful adventure. And I look forward to seeing your notebooks when you get back.
Thank you, Jack.
Absolutely. Um, does anybody else have any questions, comments, thoughts, or ideas, or something to share? Let's join Troy. We're going to head up to the Sierra Nevada. Um, and hello there, Troy. Good to see you. Oh,
Okay, how's that? Great.
perfect.
I was thinking as you started us on the gesture sketches, which was loosening up, just sort of finding the impulse of the pose, and kind of thinking that maybe there's two ways of thinking about proportion and scale. One is the movement of the drawing that's expressed through the line work, which would be more of sort of how it feels. And then the other would be the geometry and maybe blocking in the geometry. And that would be more of
Mm,
and so both are really good. And I was thinking, well, if it's not, if you're following sort of the fluidity of your line work, perhaps it's not going to line up completely with the way that you might block it in terms of getting the proportions in that way, but it might carry that sense of movement with it. Um,
yeah.
so two different approaches to scale and proportion.
And and it's not that and there's not a wrong way to do it. Um, and but I like the how you're thinking of those as sort of contrasting ways of sort of experiencing and feeling through the drawing. Thank you, Troy. Let's bring the mad botanist in. Hello, Avea.
Hi there. I actually was just saying goodbye because I have to run and do some restoration work now. It's going to be
Oh, thank you
um,
so much for doing that. So folks, we were talking about taking care of this planet. Actually, right now, Avea is heading out the door to go do native habitat and plant restoration in San Francisco. So Avea, thank you so much for doing that.
thank you. And before I go, I'll just say one quick thing to remind folks that it's not too late to start making a difference. The exact place that I'm going to is the place where the Xerces blue butterfly was last in 1943 before it went extinct. As of the last 3 years, we've been releasing their closest living relative, silvery blues, out there to fill the niche they left. And they've begun to continue their own population. On top of that, the same area has a federally endangered wildflower that was down to just a few hundred individuals, and now it numbers in the thousands, possibly more. So that's the area that I'm going to take care of. And I know that there are species where each of you live right now that might be common now or maybe less common, but each of you has the power to prevent them from becoming like Xerces just by knowing the place that you live and taking care of the plants and the animals around you. Uh, thank you all for being stewards. Take good care.
Thank you so much, Avea. And
Thank you.
I so respect the way you walk in this world. And I think that message maybe is a wonderful way to kind of wrap up our session today. We what we do does make a difference, and now is our time. Let's step up to that, and to do so can be a joyful act. We have the privilege of being able to take care of this earth together. Thank you so much, Avea. Thank you to all of you, and I will see you again soon on the other side of the Galapagos Islands.
Safe travels, and thank you so much for bringing us here together with you.
Thank you so much.